August 23rd, 11 a.m. on the East Coast. Ahead on Breaking Even, Patrick Cantlay wins the BMW Championship in the history that he can make this week, the final PGA Tour event of the season. A review of our picks from last week and a look ahead to Atlanta and the Tour Championship and the crowning of a FedEx Cup champion. Football is back. Yes, an early look from Jonathan Coachman. And the financial markets are in a tug of war between the Bears and the Bulls. Tom Lee's calling for season-ending highs, whereas Michael Burry, he's selling everything. He's cashing out. Guy Adami, he joins us to make sense of the chaos. All that is coming your way on Breaking Even. Here we go. That's Jonathan Coachman and Guy Adami. Gentlemen, top of the mid-morning to you. How we doing?
Adieu.
Adieu. All I know is I was traveling here last night, 37,000 feet. I get off the airplane, and I walk through the Atlanta airport, and who do I see?
Guy Adami.
That guy right there. Oh, I felt like I was home until everybody started bumping into me, and it stunk and all that kind of stuff. But other than that, Guy, you look great.
The madness is everywhere. It's clearly another sign of the apocalypse. The fact that I'm in literally every airport in the United States all day long is just madness.
Oh, I love it.
Coach, were you in the Atlanta airport? Did you have to have a connection there?
I did, yes.
Well, it's good because, that's where the PGA Tour is headed. Atlanta, the Tour Championship, my hometown. The home course of Bobby Jones, East Lake. Love this place, a lot of history. But, guys, this past weekend, sports were all the rave. Again, politics may be pushed to the side. Everything that's happening in the economy may be pushed to the side. And sports was back. Football is back. And, Coach, golf is getting towards the end of the season. What did you make of Patrick Cantlay's win at the BMW Championship?
Well, it's really hard to do. It's really hard to go back-to-back. And I said this on Twitter on Thursday. Somebody asked me, how do you feel about betting on Patrick Cantlay to win? He was several back. And I said, I love the pick because he gets stronger and stronger throughout the tournaments. He gets stronger and stronger throughout the playoffs. So you're going to see here in a little bit how much I like Patrick Cantlay. But this dude, when the lights are the brightest, when the pressure is the highest, he steps up. It doesn't seem to bother him. I think he goes back-to-back. For the first time ever. There's never been a back-to-back FedEx Cup champion. I think it could happen this year.
Well, no one has ever defended until this past week a FedEx Cup playoff event and Cantlay back-to-back. Let's take a look at our picks as we were on it and really close to being on it. BMW Championship, there it was. Talk to me.
Yeah, well, I loved the Cameron Young pick for most of the week. Tony Finau, without his first round, he would have had a top 5 finish. So I felt good about it, but this is what we tell people at home all the time, whether you're talking about finances with Guy or betting with me, is that you got to be very, very careful. Don't go crazy. Money management, because you can be one shot away from a bet and it's still a loser. So you got to be very careful. So,
Coach, just real quick, what did you say about he would have something about it? In other words, first round. Will you repeat that quickly? I couldn't hear it. Sorry.
I said if it wouldn't have been for his first round, he would have had a top 5 pick.
So that reminds me of a saying: if the queen had balls, she'd be the king. The king laughed; he had to. Back to you.
Touche.
Well, it was interesting. By the way, you can get in our comments section if you have any questions. We're happy to answer them as we go through the show. We're going to get golf, football, and then, of course, into the financial markets. I had in our featured group, and I was calling it for PGA Tour Live, we had Young and Rahm in the same group, and Rahm was 5 over through 27 holes of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
He was completely out of it. And then he comes racing back, finishes 9 under. Jon Rahm, watch out. He finished second last year in the FedEx Cup. He knows how to get close to winning this thing. Brian Harmon, I liked your pick. Didn't quite materialize. Adam Scott, however, ding, 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 ding. I got one. Coach, I got one.
Yeah, it was really nice. And by the way, Morikawa, my crystal ball, I sat there and watched him hit water ball after water ball after water ball on Sunday, shooting, an 80. He was in third and ends up tied for 40th or something. It was crazy. That bet would have hit. He was up by 6 shots over both of those.
Made a 10. He made a double and then
he made
a
10. He made a 10. It was hard to watch.
I've done that before, so I can't be
Is there a limit, like a mercy rule in golf, like in Little
No
League?
No mercy on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, this is not your Tuesday game with your buddies where you go, you know what, match play, pick it up. No, you finish the hole.
Let's take a look at Atlanta, because there's all kinds of variable bets, and this is actually a tricky one, because just remember it's this progressive scoring system. So the leader guy, this is going to blow your mind. Okay, I just try to pay attention. As you say, I don't want to melt your mind or whatever you say. Okay, so whoever comes in first to the FedEx Cup in the playoffs, the Tour Championship this year, Scotty Scheffler, starts at -10. And then the second place guy is at -8, and so on and so forth. The 30th place guy is 10 shots behind before they even tee off. So basically, it'd be like a football game, and one team is 2 touchdowns behind before they even kick it off.
Wow.
Okay, so
let me ask you guys. You guys are both golfers. This, to me, I think, look, this is just I understand why they do this. I totally get it. But my sense is you give a guy, you starting, 10 under. I mean, they're all professionals. I totally get it. But do you think, just even without thinking about it, subconsciously, you sort of take your foot off the gas, and maybe that's a disadvantage, not an advantage?
No, it's they work all year for it to get to that point. And I think the Tour finally has gotten it right, because you work all year, and it used to be all these numbers are thrown around, and yet Steve Sands is trying to make us figure it all out. And they said, no, there's going to be one winner. There's not going to be a winner of the FedEx Cup, then the winner of this. So this, to me, and we saw it last year, after the first round, nobody cares about the strokes anymore. It goes right back to a regular tournament. So I don't think they do, because you have guys that are with 2, within 4, within 5. So in a normal tournament, you're not taking your foot off the gas for that. So it's just a mindset. Also, you're playing for $20 million.
$20 million.
There is no taking the foot off the gas pedal.
That's Guy Adami money right there. $20 million.
It is. Yeah, he'd take a pay cut for that.
There's the old saying, how do you make $1 million in Wall Street? You start with 2. I mean, it's just I'm not in that ballpark.
I tell you what, it's a good time to be a top 20 or top 30 professional golfer in the world, because you are making some bucks. All right, here are our bets, because we got a lot to cover. Sleeper pick, Coach, you're going Tony Finau.
People need to understand, be very, very careful here. When you go to your sports book and make your plays, there are going to be bets you can make without the strokes and bets you can make with the strokes. Don't make that mistake. Plus 2,000 for Tony Finau is with the strokes, meaning he is starting with Cameron Smith, Rory, stupid microphone, Cameron Smith, Rory, Sepp Straka, Sungjae Im starting at 4 under, 6 back. That plus 2,000 is including starting 6 back. His number for the regular tournament without strokes is much, much lower. Remember, top 5s, top 10s, top 20s, they're very, very difficult this week, and they're also juiced. Jon Rahm for a top 20 finish, minus 900. That's how different this week is when you're betting. So be very, very careful. I love Tony Finau. Without the strokes, he's not afraid to go low. He can go out there and shoot a 63, 64 on Thursday and be right back in it. But I think Patrick Cantlay is the class of this field. I think Scotty Scheffler is not playing as good as he's played all year. I think he struggled. He possibly could have won last week, and he struggled down the stretch. I think Cantlay wins with the strokes. I think Cantlay wins without the strokes. And you can see my 2 I'll get to those in a second. I'll let Ned, you do yours first.
Interesting. I don't mind your Patrick Cantlay picks. I have watched him now and had a chance to call a lot of his golf all the way back to June in the Memorial. He went through a phase where he was not hitting the ball well. His golf swing, he was set up for a draw, but his backswing was saying fade, and stuff was going all over the place. He's a little bit more dialed in, but Coach, he got away with some shots, and he made a few nice putts, which you have to do. I get that. To me, he's still not hitting the ball well enough to walk away with the FedEx Cup. I'm going Scotty Scheffler. I think he just came up close. And I don't know if you saw it. He missed like a 2-foot putt on 18 this past week on the 72nd hole. It was somewhat inconsequential, except for it was worth a lot of money. I think that's the kind of thing that refocuses somebody. It's a little bit embarrassing. It's extremely aggravating. So I think he comes into Atlanta with just enough vinegar in his blood
Hmm.
to want to say, hey, guys, I'm the man. And by the way, he's going for his 5th win. That's the same number of wins 2017 that Justin Thomas had when he won the FedEx Cup. And it's the same number of wins in 2015 when Jordan Spieth won the FedEx Cup. So it's Scotty Scheffler. Xander Schauffele plays Eastlake perhaps better than anybody. So winner, no strokes. This is Xander's house, basically. And Jon Rahm, I just think he's playing so well now. He's hitting the ball better than anybody on the planet. The putters seem to heat up. Again, he played his last 27 holes in like 15 under or something like that. So Jon Rahm is my guy. Best bets, the odds aren't good, but Fitzpatrick is just not hitting the ball well. Rory is flushing it. Did you see that? Through 36 holes or something, he had 9 drives over 330 and a couple that almost touched 400. Rory McIlroy over Fitzpatrick with crappy odds. I'm still taking it.
Ned,
I
respect you so much.
I know.
I really, really do. This is a bad bet to give
I'm not saying it's not.
It just is. But then why do you give it out at minus 240? It's not a good bet.
It's a bad odds good bet.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
Those two things don't make sense.
I know they don't.
They don't make sense. You're asking somebody to bet 2.5 to 1 over the U.S. Open champion. He won the U.S. Open 2 months ago.
I know.
He can flip that switch like that.
I know.
You can't lay
I'm not telling you to put a lot on it. I'm just telling you.
I would tell people don't put any on it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, if you make a career out of going minus 240s, you will bet very little moving forward.
I didn't make a career out of it.
Our
man Jacob saying
people at home.
He's saying throw it in a parlay. So
there you go. Throw it in a parlay. That will bring the number down. Now, I went into my crystal ball this week, and I had to dig deep and find a couple of matchups. And here they are. Now, these two, you don't even have to worry about the strokes because they're all 4 starting at the same spot. Finau and M are starting at 4 under. They'll be 6 back. It doesn't matter in the matchup. Minus 125. I love Finau. I think he could actually win. I think he's playing good enough to come all the way back and win. And then I love Jon Rahm over JT. This is a number you can give out, Ned, at minus 140 over JT, who's not playing well at all. And Rahm is on fire. I love 140. Not 240.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I like that Rahm over Thomas bet. Can I change my mind? Am I allowed to change my mind?
You can't.
When you have better information, you change your mind? Yeah. All right, so those are our picks. You can at us, as Guy Adami says, any of us. Hey, before we get into the markets, Coach, a couple weeks ago, we said it's going to be a live-free zone.
Yep.
Okay, I'll take the blame. It's not going to be a live-free zone because it turns out we cannot get away from this storyline. It just will not go away. As a matter of fact, it's gaining steam. This past week, the BMW Championship, Tiger flies up to Delaware for a hand-picked meeting of 20 to 30 players. And now the information that was spread in that meeting and talked about in that meeting is starting to make its way out. I'm not going to go into too many details because there are a lot of them. What did you make, A, of Tiger flying up, and B, of some of the information that did leak?
I've been saying this for weeks, maybe months, and I heard Mike Tirico in an interview, and he said sometimes when you put people in an uncomfortable position, a lot of good can come out of it. What have I been saying? That a lot of good is going to come out of this for the PGA Tour. I think if any player goes to live now, they would be the biggest idiots in the world because there is. I know you say it's gaining steam. No, the PGA Tour changes are gaining steam. Nobody's even paying attention to live. It's part of the reason that Patrick Reed is filing lawsuits. Nobody's talking about Koepka, DJ, Bryson. And when you're a professional athlete, your ego is big time. Part of what you want is attention. Part of what you want is for people to pay attention to you and your game. These guys are going to be playing in Asia in the middle of the night. They don't even have a TV deal. Nobody cares. What this is about the top stars in golf, equivalent to quarterbacks who make $40 to $50 million, getting an opportunity to make more money within the PGA Tour, within another small tour. I think that could be great. I love seeing the top players play against the top players, and I want to see it more. If we needed LIV to do that, fantastic. But to me, I don't even think about LIV anymore. And anybody that goes over there, I think they're stupid because they're going to get a big-time check, and nobody will hear from them again. And to me, why do you play if you don't do that?
One of the issues that came out of this, and Guy, I want to get your thoughts on it. The PGA Tour is a charitable organization, and there is some conversation that if they go down this road of a tour within a tour, they're going to lose that charitable organization designation. And so they're going to end up becoming a private company where players can buy equity in given teams or the tour. So I guess in some ways it's like taking a company private. But it makes me a little nervous that players could actually buy equity in the tour. So I was just curious on your thoughts.
I think
30,000 feet.
Well, what do we call this show, by the way?
Breaking even.
And we also, on Breaking Even, we actually break news. So check your text, Ned, because apparently something's going on. And as you read, I will sort of give my answer. I think it's the evolution of businesses. You start out as something, situation evolves. You have to evolve with the situation or the world passes you by. So, I think it's one of those things you got to keep moving or you're going to basically be obsolete. And I think to answer your question, that's what's going on with the PGA. And I can't say it's going to be a good thing, but I think it's a necessary thing as they continue to sort of move forward, Coach. I think you might have thoughts on that as well.
There's no question about it. This is actually going to be a really good thing. They're still going to be able to make all the donations to the charity that they want. They've been living in this space for a long time. But let's be honest. Part of what Liv brought to the table is the fact that there are guys that are worth a lot of money and guys that aren't. And sometimes in competition, people don't want to hear it. Hell, Ned, at PGA Tour Live, there's a hierarchy. There are certain people like me and you that are allowed to do certain streams. It's in every business. And why we treat things like Little League, I'll never understand. But Rory, Tiger, all these big-time stars, they do deserve more because people tune in to watch them play. So this is an opportunity for them to make more, which they deserve, play more against each other, which all the fans want. And then the players that are still on the tour, if they get good enough, they can break into that little group. But you got to get good enough. Nobody cares from a buying perspective about player number 112 as opposed to player number 1 like Scotty Scheffler or Rahm or Rory. And the faster that we admit that, and the players can understand that, because backup quarterbacks in the NFL, they understand what their role is. They're not Aaron Rodgers. They're not Tom Brady. They don't deserve $40 million. It's the same thing in golf. Sepp Straka, love him, doesn't deserve the same as Rory.
It becomes the Premier League or Major League, and then that whatever it is, 70 to 125 becomes kind of AAA baseball, and the Korn Ferry Tour then becomes AA baseball. And by the way, Guy, you brought this up, a little breaking news. We kind of saw this coming. Tiger and Rory, they are forming their own media company. It's going to be called TMRW Sports, and it's focused on harnessing technology to build progressive approaches to sports, media, and entertainment. The thing that really catches my eye, though, Dick Ebersol, who's the broadcasting icon, he's the initial investor. I mean, anything that guy touches when it comes to broadcasting, count on it being successful. Just absolutely count on it. So this is the beginning. This is the beginning of Rory and Tiger, the two alphas, and Tiger, the alpha, even over Rory, to his own admission, by the way, this week. Rory said, there's an alpha in the room, and it's not me. But these two guys coming together to form this company, it's their way of saying, hey, we're going to have the technology, and we're going to be able to do this tour within the tour. Stay tuned, because it's going to be very interesting. But I like what you're saying, Coach. It's going to help the PGA Tour get a little uncomfortable. We have to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and that's going to help us expand.
Right. Yeah. And
if Rory or Tiger are watching right now, listen, Breaking Even's looking for a distribution partner. So if you guys are into it, man, I'm on
Let's
board.
Go. Let's
that
go.
Is a good point.
Let's
go. Anybody? We just started looking for a bigger distribution channel. We're excited about it. Uncomfortable, by the way. Not in Mississippi. You want to talk about
hold
being
on
comfortable?
a second. You rushed that. You rushed that. Let's start.
I am going this fall, because it's been a long season. Coach and I have been working our tails off, as has Guy, and so everybody's ready for a little bit of a respite. I'm going to take mine down in Mississippi this fall. I'm going down to the Beau Rivage. I'm going to throw some dice. I'm going to maybe see what the sports book has on offer. I'm going to slide over to Ocean Springs, have a couple nice dinners, put my feet in the ocean, and just unwind. I'm telling you guys, if you just go to visitmississippi.org, you can plan your vacation. Just a good place to go chill out. Awesome food down there, by the way. Guy, want to switch?
By the way, I like gumbo.
I do like gumbo.
Okra in your gumbo, you're doing gumbo wrong.
I totally no. What do you? No, nobody likes okra. ever since elementary school where the okra was boiled, not fried.
Nobody likes okra.
What are you talking about?
Well, I'm
Stop
just
it,
telling
guy.
you. I mean, I'll have a good sausage and shrimp gumbo, and okra is an extraordinarily important ingredient of the aforementioned. But that's okay. That's what makes markets, as they say.
Look at Coach's face up there. So the markets are in this weird tug of war that, again, part of the genesis of the show was through COVID. I, like many others, started a TD Ameritrade account and thought, God, this is easy. I got this. Every time it goes down, you buy, and then it goes up and you make money. Well, it turns out that's not exactly how it works. And right now it's in this weird tug of war of some guys like Tom Lee, who nailed the call during COVID, saying we're going to see year-end highs. And then there are others like Michael Burry. And if you're not familiar with him, Google him. He was the guy from The Big Short who nailed it, although he's a little early. He has sold everything, Coach. He sold everything except for one stock in his portfolio. So you have two well-respected voices who could not be on more polar opposites of what the market is going to do. Help me make sense of this. What is happening?
Well, our crack producer, Jacob, is no doubt searching for an S&P 500 chart. And it's incredible, isn't it? I mean, it's like I'm like in his head. And, Coach, I know you know this, Ned. I know this as well. I mean, in middle of June, it was June 16th, if you want to get down to brass tacks, we actually said, look, the sentiment is such that everybody now thinks the market is going to crater. Here's our opportunity. I think it's going to rally. We actually said you could see an overshoot to 4,200 by the end of July. I thought it would coincide with Apple earnings. So that part was wrong. Obviously, it happened in August, but the numbers were right. And you saw we actually overshot above 4,300. But if you even broaden this chart out a little bit, you'll see since December, we're still in this basically declining market, lower highs, lower lows. And I think we're about to embark on another thing. You mentioned Tom Lee. He thinks we make new highs at the end of the year. I'm not so certain. And quite frankly, Michael Burry, who, look, say what you want about the guy, he's a genius, as is Tom. He seems to think you basically pull the ripcord on everything. I think the market gave you a gift over the last month and a half. You've been able to watch some positions do really well, not least of which a name like Apple. Disney actually got, I think, north of 125. Now all these stocks are seemingly pulling back. So I'm more in the Michael Burry camp. The only stock he owns, by the way, Coach, and this is not directed at you in any way, it just happened to be there, our prison is a prison federal. It's a publicly traded penitentiary stock.
And he gives all these stats about it. It's actually quite interesting. But so he sells everything. That's kind of horrifying.
Well, listen, that's the type of guy. He's binary. He's not going to listen. You know what you're going to get with Michael Burry. By the way, it was last summer. And if you really want to get down to, as they say, once again, brass tacks, Jacob's going to put an ARC ETF chart, and we're going to look over the last, year and a half, 2 years. He's the guy last summer that said, you know what, you got to pull the ripcord on this ARC thing. I think it's going lower. And at the time, I think the ARC ETF was north of 150. Yep, look at Jacob once again. And you see what it's done ever since. So, I mean, you say this guy is typically early. That's true. In the case of the ARC ETF, he literally top-ticked the son of a bitch. And I guess I was wrong. It was 140 or so. But you see what it's done since. Now, ARC has bounced off the lows, due in large part to a number of those beaten-up stocks getting off the mat. But now you start to look at it, and it's rolling over. You look at Zoom, for example, and pull up a ZM chart real quick over the course of same type of time frame. I mean, Zoom was everybody's darling. Look what happened to Zoom. Zoom went from 80 to 120. Zoom basically went up 50% since the May low. And now here we are basically testing that low again. So things have bounced, but things are finding their equilibrium again. So I mentioned these names just to sort of show you, 50% bounce is meaningful, but you look at it, a 50% bounce from a stock that was a $400 stock. So perspective is important in this environment, fellas.
Coach, you know what I got back into? Some Apple puts.
I thought you were going to say like meditation.
Apple puts, Coach. And they're up 75% since I bought them, baby. Come on.
I wish I could take a screenshot of you when you think you've done something really, really good.
I was thinking about this.
3 weeks later, you're like, what was I doing, guy?
Well, I will tell you, in this case, Ned might be onto something. And my sense is he got the idea from one Carter Braxton Worth, although Ned does his own work as well. But Apple basically went up 34% from the lows we saw again in middle of June, rallied for apparently no reason whatsoever. The quarter was good. It wasn't that good. And if I told you, this is a company with basically single digits EPS growth, low single digits earnings growth that trades at 27 times next year's numbers that have just rallied 35% in basically 2 months, you'd say, where can I sell it? Well, the answer is right here. So well done, Coach. And I think a lot of people out there are looking for 150. But I will tell you, Ned, that if you're up at any point 100% in these options, the right thing to do is to sell half, because math suggests if you sell half of something that's up 100%, you're in the rest for free. That's a little math tutorial from G Swizz here.
Coach, Guy, you're going to be proud of me.
I'm always proud of you.
Because I actually sold half up about 70%.
That's
so I might have been a little early.
That's a great job.
But I'm learning. But Coach, I was thinking about this the other day. I know who I am now in this financial world. It's like the 12 handicapper who goes out and plays golf, and you come in and say, hey, how'd you play? And he only tells you about the 3 birdies that he made, but he's really proud of them. I birdied 12 and I birdied 16. I made a 40-footer on 18. Meanwhile, he shot 92, but he's going to tell you about that's me, because Guy and the professionals, they don't care they do care when they make a birdie, but they don't really talk about it. Right. Yeah. Whereas the amateurs like to talk about it. So that's okay. I'm the guy who, if I make a birdie, you're going to hear about it. I promise. I promise. Hey, Disney. No. Disney, I want to know how to play this. All right. You told us get in at 100. Coach and we got in at 100. It went down to 93. We were kind of saying, hey, Guy, what are we doing? You said,
you're like, tight. What up, bitch?
Boom,
I know
it
what
goes
you
to
said.
125. Okay. So I sold some at 125 because it just seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah, that was the right thing.
But now I'm thinking about just maybe selling more. I mean, it's at 115 now, but does it keep going down? Does it go back to 100? What's the playbook say to do here?
The broader market's obviously going to weigh on Disney, but if you go and look at the quarter, it was a pretty significant quarter. And, again, there are naysayers in Disney. I was one of them for a long time, especially when it was north of 200. But then you look at Disney now, it's basically an evaluation that you can wrap your head around, and it's as cheap as it's been to itself in quite some time. Now, look, if you got in at 100, when you watch it go down to 93, there was some pain involved there. It gets up to 125. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking money off the table. I think you do this. This is how, in my world, this is how you have to look at it. You're in, let's say you have half of your position left, and I'm just throwing numbers out. You say, you know what? A close below 115, I'm out. I don't give a shit what's going on in the world. Friggin' Mickey Mouse could find a cure for cancer. I don't care. I'm getting out. But you have to have that discipline. So that's how I would play it.
What's the number that we should be looking at? Sorry, Coach. Go ahead.
Pardon me?
I just want to throw something in there because in the short term, you know how places will increase their prices and they'll send you like that obligatory email on Friday at 4:30 or 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. Disney just did that. And they're raising their Disney bundle by a couple of dollars. They're raising their individual prices of Hulu, Disney, and ESPN by a couple of dollars, ESPN Plus by a couple of dollars. That all adds up to hundreds of millions of dollars. Am I right, Guy?
You're right, because now they have more subscribers than Netflix. So, I mean, I think they're over – I don't have it in front of me. Don't at me if I'm off by a couple million. But I think north of 230 million subs now. So you're right. Mm-hmm. I mean, now it's like, we call it margins of scale. Now, the dollar here, dollar there, it adds up when you're talking about that kind of user base.
What's the number on Disney? How do we determine if it went to 125, call it – what would be your number? You say – I'm out. Just no matter what.
Well, you see those little bars on the downslope of things, and those are volume bars that Jacob has on these charts. And you see, we had a huge volume day when the market basically when it topped at 125. That's everybody piling in, and that's all the shorts that were in the name. Everybody basically pulling the ripcord, and that tends to be short-term capitulation. And if you look over the course of this chart, you've seen it happen 4 times, and each time basically. In some cases, it sort of marked a short-time low, and in other cases, it marked a short-term high. So that 125 level, I think everybody got a little too euphoric. I think the short said no mas, like Roberto Duran, and I think you do see a back and fill here. But again, have the discipline to say, you know what, whatever happens, a close below 115, I'm out. Nice trade, move on. Next victim.
So 115, is that the number that you're sticking with?
By the way, Jacob said Disney plus 152 million. So that was my bad. But you close enough for government work, as they say.
Of course.
So 115, is that a safe number?
I think so.
Okay. 115 is the safe
it's
number.
as safe as anything else. Remember in the movie Marathon Man, when I think it was Dustin Hoffman, they kept drilling his tooth and he kept asking, is it safe? Well, at a certain point, if you drill my tooth, I'm just going to say, yeah, it's fucking safe.
It's good.
Sorry.
Stop it. Before we get to the best part of the show, one quick thought on Bitcoin guy Adami.
It is not coincidence and watch Jacob do this. Pull up a longer term chart of Bitcoin. It was in November of last year that Bitcoin topped out around 68,000 ish. It's no coincidence that was the same time this Federal Reserve said, you know what, we're going to fight inflation. And Bitcoin basically went from 68,000 on one Saturday with a few months ago, traded down to 17,500. That was about peak Federal Reserve hawkishness. It's no coincidence either that Bitcoin rallied along with the broader market under this misguided belief that somehow this Federal Reserve was going to pause or pivot. It's not coincidence either, again, that it's selling off because this Federal Reserve is basically telling you, I don't know what you're reading in the magazines, but we're still trying to fight inflation. Bitcoin, to me, is a play on the Federal Reserve. If this Fed blinks in the form of no longer raising rates or somehow magically starting to, God help us, lower rates next year, that's when Bitcoin takes off. So Bitcoin, to me, is a proxy for the Federal Reserve and the feelings surrounded the aforementioned. I got to tell you something. Sometimes I even impress myself with some of my answers. But anyway, back to you.
That was efficient. Okay, no, back to you because it is time. It is time. You end the show. Walk us out, Guy Adami.
Every time. So we've all been part of a team, right? Coach, I know you at Ned, I know you have as well. In the National Football League, at a certain point, you're part of a team of roughly 100 men, all bound together, all sweating under the sun, wherever it is, some sweltering, godforsaken place. In the old days, it was 2-a-days, but you've made a commitment to that team, and it sucks. And I'm sure you want to do other things. And, I'm sure the stars of the team feel like they're above the whole thing and they can go do other things. But no, you have a responsibility to the other men on that squad. I'm saying men because they're all men on a football team. Now, I like Tom Brady. Everybody calls GOAT. I get it. He is the GOAT. But you know what? In my opinion, Coach, and maybe you have a different view on this, you can't play by a different set of rules when you have a commitment to your teammates. When you said, I'm retiring, no, I'm coming back, you further made that commitment. I'm all in. Listen, clearly he wasn't all in because I don't know what he was doing the last 2 weeks. He wasn't hanging out in my basement. Nope, don't see him there. So, if you can get away with it, God bless. But you know what? I'm not a fan of this. This to me, again, my opinion, this is the first sort of kink in the Tom Brady armor. And to me, once again, it doesn't augur well, I think, for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. Just a thought.
There are some idiots that are actually betting at DraftKings plus 5,000 that Tom Brady left the football team to participate on The Masked Singer on Fox.
Stop it.
Yeah,
swear to God. And people are actually betting on it. They're betting on it. I hate this. But I also believe that certain athletes should be treated differently based off of who they are. If you won 7 Super Bowls, then you might be the only guy that this could happen for. But I don't like it because you need to establish rapport. You're always having new players come in. Look what's happening with Aaron Rodgers and his young receivers in Green Bay. Rodgers didn't show up for anything, and he can't even complete a pass. You've got to be there in training camp to get that rapport going.
I don't remember which coach said it, but he said to his players, I'm going to treat you fairly, but not equally.
Correct.
And that's a great expression because Tom Brady, if he wants to go do the Masked Singer and skip some practice, probably he can do it.
He will get crushed. If he actually, he didn't, but if he did, he would get crushed.
Next Masked Singer needs to be Guy Adami.
Oh, that'd be
amazing.
I
got pipes, by the way. I'll spare you now, but I do a mean-ass Ronnie Van Zant just for you folks playing our home game. Anyway, back to you.
Well, that's it. We're actually overtime. Coach, Guy, always appreciate you. Find them both on Twitter. You can find them all over the place. Guy is in the airports. Coach is betting on Sportsline and Early Edge. I mean, the guy's everywhere. You literally everywhere. PGA Tour Live is hosting the main feed this week. Find us on Twitter. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.